if I can start at the very beginning. Okay, so happy St. Patrick's Day. We're going to talk about superpowers for innovation. I am an extreme innovator. I am creative, just like you guys. I innovate, just like you guys. And all of us can be extreme innovators. Now, when I was a child, I wanted to be a superhero. I thought maybe I'll be Superman, speeding through the air, or Spider-Man with that spidery, tingly sense, or even Wonder Woman, who did the super pose before Amy Cudley made it very popular on TED Talks. Now, I wanted these superpowers so that I could innovate, and not just product innovation, but innovation in all different areas. Operational areas, like robots in factories. Client experiences, like Sephora today uses virtual reality for virtual makeup. Or even business model innovation, like Airbnb, who has innovated on the way we now vacation. Now, if you think about it, there are some great examples of innovation, and I think one of the most impactful extreme innovations are bots. Now, bots are messaging software. It's not an app. It's more personal because it's a conversation, and it accomplishes a very simple task. And because it's a conversation, it's very personal. So I actually went and hunted for a bot that I thought this school could use, and I found this interesting one called the Christopher bot. Now, the Christopher bot is disrupting homework, so parents and teachers take note. This was created by a 14-year-old boy in Canada. It's on Facebook Messenger, and what it does is it reminds you of your homework once you put it in. So it's like a homework scheduler. The great thing is it's a little sassy too. You see, I told it today that I had some algebra homework, and it says, your teacher needs to chill out on this homework that you're getting. Now, this bot is really cool because it does disrupt what's happening today. So there are 3 superpowers that we see happening: super intelligence, super speed, and super synergy. So let's take a look at super intelligence. Now, super intelligence is really about using tools, which I believe today is technology, in order to give you that edge in innovation. Now, if you think about it, innovators are like explorers. In fact, my last book on innovation, one of the forewords was written by a National Geographic explorer, because explorers are always pushing the boundaries. They're always going beyond. In fact, there's this really cool exercise that I love to do. So I'm going to think of my favorite song, and I'm going to clap it, and you guys are going to guess what it is. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. What is that song?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Now, typically what happens is that only about 1 in 4 people will get what that song is. Because some people have that playing in their head, but a lot of people don't. So innovators have to explain over and over again. Just like the space astronauts, they were the first to think about going to space, but that was so different. The song wasn't running through the head. Now, one of my friends is Allison Levine. She and I went to Duke University undergrad, and she went to Wall Street, and then she decided, you know what, I do want to be an explorer. I want to climb the mountain, Mount Everest. And so we had lunch recently, and she told me something really interesting. I didn't know that mountain climbers don't start at the bottom and go directly to the top. They start at the base camp, and then they go to Camp 1. And they integrate, they team, they look at their tools, and then they come back down. They do the same thing with Camp 2, Camp 3, you get the picture. I thought this was just like an innovator. An innovator usually doesn't start with their first idea. Usually it's their second idea, that's their big idea. And they pivot. Think about how many startups here actually are now producing the product that they started with. So innovators and explorers are very much the same. Now, I believe that Allison uses a set of tools like a North Face jacket and great boots, just like innovators have tools, and I think those tools are changing today. I think those tools today are about new technology, artificial intelligence and bots. that are really focused on learning software. Virtual reality, which changes the reality that we live in. Internet of Things, which is bringing in all this new data. Data science is a great new skill. And blockchain, which is changing the way we look at our supply chain. So let me show you a couple of examples of how companies are using these things to innovate. Now this example I love because this breaks the playbook. This is MasterCard, an established company who is now number 36 on the world's most innovative companies. And what are they doing? They're using artificial intelligence to disrupt payments. One of the hardest things about paying for something is determining, are you? And so what they're doing is they're using visualization, taking basically a selfie in a secure manner to identify you for your account. And they're not the only ones. I love what NASA's doing. NASA today is using virtual reality to innovate. They're using it to train astronauts before they go to Mars. What is the red dust like? What will it be like up there? Virtual reality is also being used in Lowe's, home improvement. Now Lowe's had a whole series of do-it-yourself videos on YouTube, which was very disruptive. But look what they're doing now.
Education is empowerment, and people learn by doing. It's just how we are built. And that's why we built the HoloRoom How-To. The HoloRoom How-To is a virtual reality training tool that teaches people how to do DIY projects when they want to learn it. Anything from painting a fence to tiling a bathroom.
You actually are grabbing tiles in water and sponges. It feels like you're actually there doing it. It's very neat. I love doing it myself. I've done it 3 times and I'll do it again.
Lowe's has been using virtual and augmented reality for years now. The HoloRoom How-To project takes us even further. We did an A/B test and half of the customers went through the virtual reality HoloRoom How-To and the other half just watched a YouTube video. Customers who went through the virtual reality version had 36% better recall.
The potential is endless. DIY should be fun, and that's what customers who come here to improve their life. This is something nobody else has. This is a big deal for us.
Teaching, learning, education, that's it. Even if we can unlock just a little bit of that mystery, this will have a massive impact and a change that I don't even think we can fully understand.
They have hologram rooms, and they're using virtual reality to help you to imagine what that bathroom will look like, what that kitchen will look like, how you do the caulking, completely disrupting the buying process. Now, we also are looking at other things out there too, like voting. Now, I know the election is a really hot topic, and I love this startup. This startup's called Follow My Vote, and it's using blockchain in order to create an online secure voting mechanism used today in some parts of Europe as well as in the Middle East. Now, let's go back to some of those bots. How many of you guys have heard of Masuko? #1 rated bot in the world in 2016. It took 12 years to train her. Did you know that somebody had a 9-hour conversation with her? I can't even get my husband to have an hour conversation with me. It's really interesting to look at Masuko. So before I came to this TED event, I asked her for her permission to use her on stage, and she goes, "Oh yeah, that's very generous of you." I also asked her what she thought about TED, and she goes, "Wow, I love TED. I already have a fan page built for myself." Play with Masuko and see how she's disrupting companionship. Now also, there's bots out there for awareness. Zootopia, one of my very favorite movies. Zootopia created a bot for Judy, the detective in the movie. 10 million kids have used this bot for over 10 minutes of engagement. And when they solve a crime, they get this badge to put on their Snap profile or their Facebook page. So all of these are disruptive, and I believe that of those, bots will be the new black. Make sure you're familiar with what's going on because they will be one of the core tools of innovation in the future. Now, in addition to super intelligence, super speed is also really important. Now, super speed is not just going fast to go fast. Super speed is about an accelerated pace to a goal. And to get there, we don't just need technology, we also need people and teams. But you may not be thinking of the same kind of teams that I am. If you think about teams, most people choose teams that they're comfortable with. Maybe the group of guys they went to college with, maybe someone that they're really familiar with. But super speed and extreme innovation is really about diverse teams. A recent study published in December from Harvard showed that if you don't have diverse teams, women, LGBT, people of color are not as likely to have their ideas heard, and therefore the innovation doesn't spring forth. So if you think about it, there's some interesting examples where that diversity didn't shine through. So Barbie, Mattel, decided to create a talking Barbie doll that had AI embedded inside of it. A great and innovative idea. In fact, this Barbie did some really great things. When you ask Barbie, as a young girl, about traveling to outer space, she'll ask you, what planet do you want to go to? And educate you a little bit about those planets. But here was the rub. When a young girl would ask Barbie, hey, I want to be a data scientist, Barbie would reply, what about fashion? Or if I would say, I want to be a teacher, Barbie would say, what about fashion? And so because they didn't really think through the diversity that was needed, what could have been an extreme innovation turned out to be a big flop for Mattel because they didn't think through that diversity. Now, speed is not just about comfortable teams, people all alike. Speed is about having teams that are cognitively diverse, different ways of thinking. And that doesn't mean just in terms of gender and race, but also age. I can see a little bit, we've got some millennials out there. Millennials today are 1 in 3 of the workforce. By 2020, they'll be 50% of the workforce, 75% worldwide. And these millennials think differently. 69% think that they should be in the middle of all innovation from their company, and 65% are already looking for a new job on day 91. Now, if you think about it, these millennials think differently. But also, let's go to the other extreme. Now, I know that we're in the mecca of startup land, and we always think about startups as being for guys in hoodies. But did you know that 1 in 3 startups are started by someone over 50? Ben Franklin created the spectacles when he was 76. Coca-Cola, KFC, McDonald's, all started by someone over the age of 50. So this is another area of diversity. Now think about female founders, women creating products for women. Did you know that 90% of female founders start their entrepreneur journey because they were encouraged by their father? So if you're a dad of a daughter, make sure you're encouraging this diversity in our startup community. And then one other kind of diversity, which I think is very interesting, you know, when I grew up, careers where you start and you stop. But today, and even magnified further by what's happening with the millennials, people now pause their careers. This was a recent study done. 65% of female MBAs from top schools like Stanford and Harvard will pause their career. So the point I'm trying to make is that diverse teams generate innovation. And that's diversity in age, in gender, disability, and race. That diversity really adds value. And when you couple it with technology, you really get some cool things. So think about BetaGig, a company that has a job marketplace for millennials to do job shadowing, to test out their jobs. Or Reboot, founded right here in Palo Alto. And what they do is they help women who pause their careers get back into it. WFF Connect helps female founders find other funding VCs. And Encore is dedicated just to people over 50, sorry for some of you students, to help them start their own companies and to really get into business. So bottom line for super speed is that we need diverse teams, because diverse teams and diversity yields innovation. It comes up study after study from 2009 to the last one done in December of 2016 of 20,000 companies. Diverse teams yield not just innovation, but innovation with more profit. So we've really covered superpower of super innovation, super intelligence, which is about technology, and we talked about bots. And then super speed, where we're looking at diverse teams, not teams that are just comfortable. Now we're going to talk about super synergy. And this is about being obsessed with an ecosystem. Now, I've been doing ecosystems for a while, and even my daughters and my husband can't explain it. So I thought I would do a quick analogy. I'm a scuba diver, and when I go dive in a coral reef, that's a great example of an ecosystem. Everything works together, but everything's not the same. You've got fish down there, you've got the coral, you have humans that come down and have to protect the reef, you've got the rocks, you've got the microorganisms. All of those are required for that effective ecosystem, which is the reef. And the same thing is true for ecosystems of innovation. So this is one of my favorite, Tesla. The leader of the Tesla ecosystem, as we know, is Elon Musk. But watch how he obsesses over that ecosystem. One of my friends, Lord Lemire, who is the CEO of Leaders, decided to tweet him one day and say, hey, we've got a problem with the charging stations. Now, Elon Musk, even though he has 2 million Twitter followers, obsesses on what he's doing with the ecosystem, immediately tweets back, but more impressive, in 6 days, innovates and fixes the problem. Now, can you imagine your school or your company innovating and changing in 6 days? And Tesla is also building an ecosystem around charging stations. Think back to Apple. When Apple built ecosystems around apps, people thought they were crazy. Now we've got Tesla building ecosystems around charging stations. And there are more. Female founders. Did you know that female founders are 15% more profitable than their male counterparts? They use 1/3 less capital. How do they do that? Well, most female founders, because of lack of funding, build ecosystems. For instance, there are a group of female founders focused on baby and health that have formed an alliance, a marketplace, where they do their joint marketing, they share customer lists, and as such, they're much more effective. And this is one of my favorites. This is the fashion tech ecosystem. Fashion and tech, that's right. Anita Nett, one of my friends, is a technologist. She was also a fashion model. But what she's done is build an ecosystem with the Chinese government. Designers, like that dress over there that you're seeing. They've embedded technology from Intel into the dress. And the dress is operated with proximity. So as the closer I get to you, the less lights you see. I can hook it up to my heartbeat and have the lights flash. Not good for teenage girls dating, by the way. But these are really showcasing the power of that ecosystem and the innovation that comes out. And then last but not least, I know the students' favorite, which is Snap and Snapchat. And they've done a really interesting move with the spectacles. You put the spectacles on, and you can film something for your Snap for 10 seconds. But the power of it is not that they use a Snap bot to distribute it, but it's in the ecosystem that they're building around it, in the APIs and the developers that they have driving forward this. So these ecosystems, super synergy, super intelligence, as well as super speed, all make a difference. Now, for each of us, we want to be extreme innovators. We need to be lifelong learners. We need to ensure that we are looking at our second idea, not just our first idea. That we are explorers, that we start young and that we start old. Now, why am I so passionate about this? Well, I really like to illustrate it with an interesting brain teaser. So some of you may have heard this. The lily pad doubles every day. So one day it's 1, then 2, and then 4. So every day it's doubling. So on the 60th day, The pond is full. What day is the pond half full? Day 59, right? I think that we are on day 59, and I see companies looking at innovation in the old way, not using the new tech, not looking at diverse teams, especially here in the Valley, and not looking at ecosystems and synergy. And I am afraid if we wait too long, we'll be sitting on day 59, and boom, it's day 60, and it's too late. My name is Sandy Carter, and I am an extreme innovator.